what has been on Jeff Smith's mind? What rabbits and critters and rats have been running around in Jeff Smith's head? So that's why I say I don't know the topic for today, because I'm not inside of your head. But the question is, what is Jeff Smith thinking about nowadays?
How do you find the will to fight back against a world that wants to keep you sedated, average, and stuck in place? Join us for the tools and strategies you need to create a life of abundance, discipline, and high achievement. This is the Tactical Empire with Jeff Smith.
Welcome to another episode of the Tactical Empire. I am joined today by Sean Ryder, fresh off vacation. How is life, brother?
Took the words out of my mouth. I am back in the office, fresh off of a fantastic vacation in the southern shores of the Outer Banks. Not the south part of the Outer Banks, which is like barren and MIA land, Hatteras Island, which is way down there. There's actually is a town, Southern Shores, just south of Duck. So right off the highway, super easy to get to. Absolutely loved it. Glad to be home. Not happier to be home. Not sad that we left vacation. That's an interesting feeling when you just kind of flow from work and life to vacation and flow back in without any of the emotional baggage that comes from it. You know, I don't like cliche quotes, but it's like, build a life that you don't have to vacation from. And that's kind of like, I guess that's the feeling, is like, oh, I'm working or I'm playing with my kids. Oh, now we're at the Outer Banks. Oh, look, we're back home. And like, there's nothing else to go with it. So good feeling for sure.
I love it, man. Congratulations to you guys. I love that.
How are you? You're moving your house across the country. So no clue. I knew where you were. And then you posted to Facebook in the group. You're in some other town that I've never heard of. So where are you at?
Mammoth Cave right now. We are exploring the world's largest cave system, and we will be doing that for a few weeks.
Okay.
And yeah, so I'm excited. We're going to be stationary for a little bit, so it allows me to catch up and get some shit done. And yeah, these are good times. I feel like we've been fresh off vacations as well, because we have been doing birthday parties and celebrations and spending money like crazy and eating out like crazy and doing all those things that are over time. They're fun for a minute, but they're a bit unsettling to me over time. I like getting back to my regular stuff.
Yeah, that's probably the feeling that I left vacation with, was like, I do not mind spending money on experiences. So the vacation was like, obviously, like, I view it as an investment.
Sure.
For an experience. But, you know, we had a full built out kitchen at the Airbnb, and we cooked breakfast every morning, but like we cooked dinner twice, and we ate out every other night and had ice cream, even though we had ice cream cones in the fridge. And I'm like, so that gets me a little unsettled. And I like my rhythm. I like my rhythm of my day to day. So like, and we live out, you know, just 3 or 5 miles outside of town. So it's very quiet where we live. And obviously this is Southern Shores was quiet, but they like picked up the trash twice a week. And the dump trucks came by like before the sun it was dark. Like, I don't know what time it was, but it woke me up twice throughout the week, not in my bed, not with my pillows. So, you know, some unsettling feelings, but not the happy, sad. So I did think about you guys while on vacation. I'm like, is this what the Smiths are dealing with by RVing across country, like eating out all the time because you want to try the local coffee shops or the local ice cream shops?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you definitely have to check out the local fare. That's why it's good. That's why I'm talking about, we're doing a longer stint now. So Kirsten's off right now, making a giant grocery run so that we can meal plan, because we're coming straight off of a 3-day, 2.5 day fast right now. And so she wants to roll keto this week, and I'm like, lovely, let's do it. And so she wants to roll out of the fasting into keto and maintain that for a couple days. And so I'm just like, whatever, you're the precision nutrition chick. Tell me what to do.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So,
all right.
But
well,
yeah.
we got a fun, go ahead.
No, you tell me. You tell me. What are we talking about?
We got a fun topic today. It's going to be fantastic. I don't even know what the topic is, because the topic of today is we're recording in early August 2024. We put out a ton of content this year to date, but we're going to pause a little bit today, and I'm just going to simply ask, what has been on Jeff Smith's mind? What rabbits and critters and rats have been running around in Jeff Smith's head? So that's why I say I don't know the topic for today, because I'm not inside of your head. But the question is, what is Jeff Smith thinking about nowadays?
Man, it's like a starburst of a like fireworks grand finale. I'm trying to track down all those different things. Man, what is on my mind is like the financials. I mean, I kind of break it down into maybe like our 4 F's, right? Like besides, I mean, fitness, like how fit do I need to be based on what's coming in life? And sometimes it's not always like you have to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. So from that standpoint, I think I need to do some more work. I'm in pretty good shape, but I'd like to take my fitness level up a little bit. And then I think about my family, like what's going on with the turbulent economic environment. When you talk about finances, I mean, I'm watching real estate, I'm watching the interest rates. The election is obviously something to behold at this point. And so, I mean, what's on my mind is truly like watching what's unfolding in the media, the government, and everything else, because the systems that I grew up on, that I believed in, that I went to war over, I guess, have kind of unraveled in front of us over the past decade for me, maybe a little bit more. And so as I see it coming to light, where it's more mainstream, that people are like, this is fucking obvious, like that we're living in a system that we're not that we're told is not the system that we're perceived to be living in, right? Because you can go to a million different things. Like, if they can print money, why are we paying taxes? If they're sending all this money out of the country, but we have so many fucking problems domestically, why in the world would we be funding anything outside the country? I mean, there's just a lot of things. Like, you can go down the immigrant hole, the illegal immigration hole, on like, why would it be happening? So like, I'm just looking at a million things like a chessboard and asking myself why, and then like, why would this be happening? And then who would be benefiting? And then like, none of that really matters, because then it comes back to like the micro level of like, what the fuck do I do about it? And then how does this affect my family? And then what keys do I have to be aware of that are indicators that like you're maybe unsafe, or you're being put in a situation that could be precarious to you or your family or your financial situation. And so there's a lot on the table. It's a really weird time. I was talking to my wife this morning. We've been walking every morning and drinking coffee, which is like something she agreed to like a week ago, and it's my favorite thing in the world. We never used to do that because we sleep pretty different schedules. But I'm real early riser. She's not usually. And so like, we're usually out of kilter with regards to schedules. But that said, we were talking about some stuff this morning, and there's so much uncertainty right now that it makes the markets completely volatile. Like, entrepreneurs at their core are comfortable with like chaos to an extent, but you need to know the system. You need to understand, you need to understand the rules. And
Right.
then once given the rules, whether they're shady, whether they're stacked against you, whether you're getting fucked over, like, it doesn't matter as long as the rules are clarified, and like, those are going to be the rules for the next period of time. That's why you always see so much economic upheaval the 4, 5, 6 months leading up to an election, because there's so much uncertainty on what's going which way. Is there rent controls? Are we lowering the interest rate? Are we going to remain the petrodollar? Are we going to World War III? Like, there's and right now we are at peak chaos. And like one of the things I'm watching most, I mean, full transparency, is I'm watching the migrant riots in the UK and Britain, and because I think a lot of these other Western countries are ahead of us with their schedule of events that are going on. They're doing the same thing that we're doing. They're just 5-10 years ahead of us. Canada, the UK, Britain, they're implementing all the same type of stuff, but they're just 3 or 4 years down the road. And Australia, New Zealand, and you're seeing different things happen. New Zealand or Australia just implemented a social credit score, and you have to have a 100 social credit score to be able to post on the internet. And then the UK, they had these violent riots with their migrant population, and the police didn't stop them at all. And then the following day, the locals, the British population stood up and caused all these riots and went out and fought the guys or whatever. And like they arrested a ton of the locals. And then they also went out and kicked in doors for who was posting on social media negatively about the migrant political rules that they're making. And so they were kicking in doors based on social media posts and arresting people. So it's getting wild.
I knew none of that was happening.
Well, that's why I'm telling you, because none of it's on the media. And so I knew that you wouldn't know, because you're like, I'm going to put my head in this hole and I'm going to hang out in Virginia and hope for the best. But there's a lot going on. There is a lot going on. And so you watch what's happening. In 2020, we saw civil unrest, right? It was ushered in through BLM and all of that. And that was allowed to go on. If you read a lot of history books, they really don't have new plays. The people that have done this stuff do it over and over and over again. And they usually run the same plays. The difference this time is social media. Everyone's got phones. It hits in real time. And you saw that with the Trump assassination bullshit, because like, and you've also seen that disappear from the media, which is very peculiar, right? I mean, we were on a call.
I said that on the episode. I said, if he would have actually died, go back to the episode. I was like, if he would have actually died, do we live in such a 48-hour, 72-hour society and desensitized society that it would be like, it would just be back to quote normal life, even though we're at peak chaos? So this is a little bit different situation that you're saying, but like it's not on the news anymore. It was literally just 2.5-3 weeks ago.
Well, the interesting thing about it, considering what happened 2 weeks later, is Kamala Harris she's now the candidate, which was not voted for. And if Trump was killed, the Republicans would have had a candidate that was not elected either. So we would have had to choose from two unelected, appointed opportunities, which is just wild. And that's not the system we think we live in, right? And so, because like there isn't some cabal that gets to choose our elected officials. I mean, even if you look right now for the Democrats, RFK is like polling miles ahead of Kamala, and they haven't even done the DNC yet, which is 2 weeks away. So, man, there's just wild shit going on. But I say all that to say, like, they used the same exact playbook that they used on Kennedy to then use on Trump, and it just didn't work. He didn't die. And so now we're at this point of like, what's next? And my predictions are they're going to go to war and start this huge fucking war. And they're also going to...
With who?
Yeah, with Iran. Because we've already given Iran $18 billion to start it. So, and then we gave Israel whatever. This is definitely getting banned from YouTube. But we gave all the money to all the players so that we can start it. Right? It's like we're funding all sides of this thing. And so then you have to figure out like what's going to replace the BLM riots. And you're already seeing it. It's these like Palestinian protesters. They're tearing shit up, right? They're becoming more and more organized, and they're funded. They're well funded by the same OGAs that are bringing in all the migrants through the southern border. And so they're putting them strategically where they're supposed to be. And so unfortunately for us that sit out here as normal people, it's going to throw our lives into chaos. And the bad thing about like BLM, the thing that happened during that was that like they burned down their own neighborhoods. They burned down like Black owned businesses that had been in those communities for decades. And like, to me, that's like tragic. They're eating their own to an extent. But then if you look at the demographic of like people that were paid, they're bussed in there to be disruptors, and they're there to cause chaos with the promise of immunity from the police and everybody else. That's why you saw those people arrested in Portland over and over again and then cut loose within 30 minutes. They'd be arrested multiple times in a day. And so I think that's coming, but I don't know what it looks like yet. It looks something like, I think it's tied to something with regards to the Palestinian population or the Palestinian protests, not the population. Those are different things. The protests like include all kinds of weird rabble rousers that have no idea about Palestine or its history or the Jewish-Israel or the Jewish-Palestinian conflict, like Israeli-Palestinian conflict. They don't know shit about any of that. They're just out there fucking waving flags like dipshits.
It would be like me going out there. It would be like me going out there and supporting. And I just look different. I'm ignorant as shit when it comes to that stuff. I want to go back to something you said there, because it was interesting how you went kind of macro first. And you did kind of preach what we preach here is like, hey, be aware of macro level. You come at it not necessarily from a different angle, but you can go deep on that stuff. Like you study it. Your wife has a PhD in certain topics that most people don't. So those conversations should be probably fun on those morning coffee walks. But you said, hey, like it comes back to what can I do about it? And I want to hammer on not necessarily what you can do about it or the audience can do about it. The thing that caught my ear, which plays into kind of what's been on my mind, which will be the next episode, is you said entrepreneurs thrive in chaos, but we like chaos when it's a part of the game that we're playing, because we're flexible within our system. That's not the exact terminology you used, but we want to know the rules we're playing. And right now, small business owners, me being one of them, starting up a small business with my wife and the team, and the team members that we are hiring are coming from other businesses. They're leaving a job to come into our brand new business. It's hard for small businesses to lose clientele or lose revenue because of outside macroeconomic factors. There was an article on Facebook locally. The local newspaper did an article that the restaurants and small businesses downtown in Winchester are saying that they're down 20 to 40% revenues from last year. 20 to 40% revenues from last year. And what did our city do? Our city increased the real estate property valuations, not the tax. The tax stayed the same, but the valuations went up on average 30%. For residential and commercial building owners. My building went up 50%, the valuation. So at the same tax rate, my tax bill essentially doubled. And for restaurants, they increased the taxes on restaurants downtown. So not only are restaurants paying higher taxes, they have 20 to 40% less revenue. Why? Because people can't afford to eat out anymore. And like that has nothing to do with the foundation principles of these business owners. And that's what's scary as shit. You could be running. This is exactly why my first gym failed over the course. It was trickle over the course of 4 years. It's one of the biggest reasons. There's numerous reasons why we ended up failing was the wrong word. I closed it down, but it wasn't growing. It wasn't growing because it all started because we got shut down from a government entity for 72 days and lost 5 years of growth in 72 days. And it just doesn't bounce back. People's habits didn't come back after the lockdowns. And so what's for lack of a better term, scary right now is we recorded at the beginning of the year, we recorded an episode on how to plan for 2024 and what's coming with the election. And like we floated, or at least some other people floated the idea that some shit was going to happen and changes were going to happen at the last minute. We didn't know what they were. Now we kind of see what they are and we're living it. We're living it 3 months prior to the election. And no one today, August 2024, no one has any clue what the fuck's going on.
Well, to go back to your point of what we can do, like, I think it's truly time for like a shifting of focus. Like, these conversations have to go on. Like, you have to be able to discuss politics with your neighbor. You have to be able to discuss taxes with your neighbor. Like, all of this stuff that has become taboo for the last 16 years in like this black white culture, like, you're going to get shamed, you're going to get canceled. All of that bullshit has to go away. And people need to stop being silent about like what they believe in and what they, how things are affecting them on a daily basis. And you need to be able to articulate it. You can't just shout other people down or blame some stupid fucking color of your skin, pigment of your skin, or who the fuck you like to have sex with. Like, those are just dumb, low level conversations. And like, if you have to go to name calling and shit like that, you've lost the argument immediately. Like, what you're bringing up is a very real situation. In the 50% tax increase, we've been seeing that in Texas since fucking Hurricane Harvey in 2017. We've been getting hit 30% a year, or they've been maxing out what they're capable of raising our valuations every year. And like, those are real conversations that affect real people. And even if they're like, oh, you're the rich guy, like, fuck you. And like, you can still swing it back into like, but what about like Grandma Betty, who has a paid off house that she's had paid off since 1975. And now she cannot afford property taxes because her property taxes are now fucking $2,000 a month on a house that's now worth $250,000 that she bought for $5,500. Like, you have to think about the reality of how these policies affect everybody. And so it's not only it's fun to sit at the bottom and say, oh, it only affects the rich. But ultimately, who it hurts the most is the lowest tier population with regards to economics.
Where do you think the rich spend their money? It doesn't matter if they spend it at the local restaurant on a $15 meal or they go buy a fucking yacht. That yacht was made by people who are living on $50,000 salaries to provide income for their family of four, right? It definitely affects fucking everyone.
But that's where not understanding or not having a clear context of what the rules are going to be for any period of time, it milks and bleeds the lower class, because people that have money sit on cash when there's uncertainty. And I don't mean uncertainty or volatility in the market. I mean, the rules aren't fucking clear. Like, it does not matter who gets elected. You will see a huge economic spike after January 20th of 2025, because we will know for 3.5 years what the fucking rules are going to be. And like, even if they're stacked against me 100%, right, I'm going to figure out ways to fucking make it work. But I'll know that I have a 3.5 year window, that shit is going to change, maybe, but we understand what we're facing. And, right, and so like, that's where the volatility, like right now, I don't even fucking know who the president is. Like, who's making all these decisions? Like, a common sense human being would have to be asking some of these questions. Like, where the fuck is our president? Like, we just signed a weapons bill for fucking $80 million or $800 million or something, funding weapons into somewhere in the Middle East. I don't know who it was, but somebody signed that like last week. And as far as I know, we don't have a president right now. So who's fucking calling the shots on like, hey, we should fucking be sending a goddamn tanker of cash over to this fucking country right now? I think that people need to understand that like, some of these questions need answered and not be just hoodwinked by the media into fucking 30-second snippets on bullshit.
Well, apparently the person that they put on TV who has the title of president 3 weeks ago sat behind a desk and said that he was going to solve the economy in the last 6 months of his reign and cure cancer. And if you're looking at the stock market, the first week of August, it's bleeding. It is absolute blood fire red, and not the good kind of fire, the bad kind of fire. So no one's fixing shit. So, we aren't ones to tell people to sit on their hands, but you just made a comment there about what do people with cash do in uncertain times. If we don't know the rules, they sit on their cash. And once they have an inkling of what those rules are going to do. So is this kind of like an episode to give people permission? Like we always talk about getting your financial house in order, always understand your strategy, be cool with being flexible and changing your strategy, which is going to be part of my, what's on my mind episode over the past couple of months. But we're going to be looking for deals, but it is okay in this moment to not call a timeout, but kind of inch over to the sideline a little bit, like that wide receiver that's trying to like be sneaky, and then boom, turn on the burners when you feel comfortable that that the corner is not going to cover you for the play or whatever it is. Maybe that's a bad analogy, but like, yeah, sit and watch. If you don't understand, like it's hard to make a move. Is that? I mean, that's not a clear cut statement. But what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, if you're an entrepreneur or an investor listening to this, you need to know that like you need to keep your powder dry, because like now is the time. We are coming into like a very unique moment of a buying opportunity, because we are in a fucking crash. I mean, the people that have said that we aren't in a recession for the last 6 months, I've been saying we are, but like it's manifesting itself now. And it will manifest itself over the next 12 to 16, 18 months. And there is going to be sales galore. And whether it's businesses, whether it's real estate, whether it's like the people that can get the financing done are the ones that are going to be the winners. And so like, that's where cash is king. Finding private money is king, and understanding that like we are coming into a feasting opportunity for those that are capable of making moves. So no, it's not a time to sit on the sideline because of uncertainty. It's time to be very crystal clear on your buy box and what the fuck you know, because you should do a lot more of what you know. It's not a time to go out, in my mind, and take on, like, in my world, like some large manufacturing project, and I'm going to build a fucking $100 million manufacturing operation. Like, that's not my skill set. I'm going to go buy a shitload more commercial real estate that I know about. And the way that you're going to get these deals is because during shitty economic times, there's always life events continuing to go on. One other thing is that, like, we see another fucking huge downturn. You saw it in 2020. It was the same thing. Everybody that's 75 and over was like, fuck this. I'm out of here. I'm cashing in what I've got. Like, buy my shit. I'm done. And because they don't want to deal with the next set of rules, the next set of like fixing this shit. Like, they're like, dude, listen, you can have this storage facility for X amount of money because I want this amount of cash going out the door. And like, and I'm fine with that. And you can deal with the 30% year over year valuation increases and figure out how the fuck you're going to make it profitable. And I'm like, okay, well, I got a lot of years left to do it, so I'm good. Let's do this. And like, that's the type of shit that is going to be available. People exiting the marketplace, life events, deaths, divorces, all kinds of shit like that. And then there's a whole nother category of people that have been in like balloon loans that are coming due. There's going to be 2 years worth of balloon loans on these commercial properties that are going to pop. And are they going to be able to refinance them? And that is a question that is precarious. Myself involved. Like,
I got 2.5 years. Yeah, I got 2.5 years before mine hit, and I know I'm already thinking about it.
You should be shopping to figure out who you can lock it in with, making a relationship. And because I think banks are going to fucking, I don't know what they're going to do in this situation, because they're sitting on some capital, a lot of capital, like more in the past, just because of the last couple years. But they've also been very stringent with their lending. And so are they going to have to open it up to open up the economy? Are we going to drop interest rates and then open up lending parameters? Because if we do, it's going to be fucking the Wild West again. It's going to be fun. Either way, it's going to be the Wild West.
Sounds familiar.
The good thing is, I mean, like, and this is part of what's amazing about the inner circle, in my opinion, is that like we're out there taking action regardless. And so the good thing is, when the wild times hit and it's time to feast, we've already been doing stuff for 12 months leading up to it and taking action and buying things. That's why I tell those guys, any doors you can get now, I mean, fuck, man, 20 or 30% appreciation over the next few years is not going to be bad. And, and I mean, that was something my wife asked me about this morning too. Like, why am I so bullish on that happening? And there's a lot of reasons, but like real estate is going to go up 20 to 30% over the next 2 to 3 years. Again, mark my word, in almost every metro. And so like, if you don't own shit right now, you better own some stuff. Go out, buy whatever you can get your hands on, own some assets, participate in some JVs, hold on to some things to put in some portfolio. Even though you may think it's insignificant right now, I guarantee you 5 years from now, you're going to be happy you did that. So,
well, Jeff, I'm so thrilled that we did this episode. I think this needs to be a quarterly or biannual topic because that was exhilarating. That was an awesome roller coaster of a ride for the past 30 minutes. I hope something resonated with the people. Some of these topics are going to come back in on my episode from a different angle, basically from my individual life, because I won't be talking about Iran when it comes to the projects that I'm working on, but it does involve money and involves macroeconomic factors impacting some of my, not concerns, but like exciting anxiety around the money moves that I've made over the past couple of months. So tune into that episode. It'll be next on the list. Jeff, send the people out.
guys, like and subscribe us on YouTube. Give us a shout, please. Follow us on the Tactical Empire community on Facebook. It's a free group. Love to have you out there. And jump into our inner circle, man. It is an amazing group of men. We've got 10 weeks till our next meetup in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's an in-person deal. If you're part of the group, it's included for you. It's a really great opportunity to get around like-minded men that are making moves in any marketplace. And it provides you with a support system to kind of knock down all of the chaos in our world and keep you making moves, provide you with solutions and contacts and resources to make things smoother, make you compress time on your goals and get your family moved along towards financial freedom and security, which is what your wives are looking for. Have a wonderful fucking week and kick ass.